adopted the revised budget for the 2017 fiscal year. The budget was hastily adopted by the former assembly, but the new lawmakers made series of amendments, making it more economically cohesive. Famarakani reports.
Almighty God, who by wisdom and goodness has appointed the offices of rulers and parliaments.
Deliberations began after those prayers, scrutinizing every bit of the 2017 budget for proper amendment and final approval. The previous budget is seen by deputies as unfavorable and not represent the real financial situation in the Gambia. From agriculture to security, inflation, problems of unemployment, revenue generation by the government to national celebrations, deputies left no stone unturned to fine-tune the budget for a country that has been under serious economic challenges.
Put your vote according to your size. If you want to go in for salary increment, it is going to be another thing on us. So let us all work hard so that before 2018, if we work effectively, salaries will be increased.
What we should be thinking of critically is how do we inject into that budget to make this country apt to generate revenue and therefore generate employment and therefore generate possibilities of increasing salaries. You must have a source of generating revenue.
Deputies identified key priority areas that the new government needs to work on in earnest to effect rapid economic growth. These include transforming the agricultural sector, youth empowerment, reduction in the rate of unemployment, among a host of other burning issues.
The amount of money that we are pumping into the service sector or the security sector is too high. And recently, looking at the financial situation of this country, it's not helping at all.
The Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Amadou Sane, assured deputies of the new government's resolve to fulfill the economic dreams of the Gambian people.
We realize that we are spending a lot on our security personnel. The proportion of the budget that they carry, if you look at the size of the budget, it's really high.
He called on all Gambians to rally behind the government to achieve our national aspirations. The new government, he went on, has inherited a country with a fragile economy and is working very hard to revive the country for the better.
We considered the revised estimates by the Committee of Supplies. I beg to move that the revised estimates for 2017 were adopted with the amendments.
After intense scrutiny by deputies, the revised budget was finally adopted with some amendments. Reporting for JSS News, I am Famarakani.
The Minister of Information, Demba A. Jao, and Interior Minister Mai Ahmad Fati Thursday inspected an assortment of damaged communication gadgets and a fleet of luxury vehicles purchased by former President Yahya Jammeh. Sumajadama tells us more.
The inspection exercise at State House in Banjul gave the ministers the opportunity to gather first-hand information on the alleged numerous malpractices committed by the former president. Speaking to GRTS, the Minister of Information attributed the destruction of communication gadgets at the State House Media Unit as a deliberate act by the former president and his allies to distort audio-visual and written facts. Cameras, computers, files, filing cabins, and other valuables were found to be seriously damaged.
We are really amazed with what we have seen. We have found out that virtually all the offices have been vandalized, computers have been smashed and, files taken, and everywhere is so, you can see it is so, vandalized in such a way that, we are amazed what has happened. Were they looking for sensitive materials, taking them away? We don't know actually what happened, but you can see that all the offices that we've been to, the computers have been smashed and all the files are vandalized. It's very amazing. We don't know what happened actually.
Minister Jao stressed that government is going to seriously investigate the matter, and those found wanting will face the full force of the law. During a conducted tour to the former president's car park, the delegation was amazed to see a fleet of very expensive vehicles bought by Jammeh, despite the Gambia being a developing country whose citizens are struggling economically. The officials also saw for themselves some of the military hardware kept at the State House by the former president. Interior Minister Mai Ahmed Fati said the public will be duly informed of the outcome of the investigation through the Ministry of Information. Suma W. Jadama reporting for GRTS.
The bustling town of Basse has proven to be a business market for people in the sub-region. The town is, however, coming under the spotlight once again as we enter the rainy season. Farmer Fofana explores Basse's conditions at a time when the authorities reportedly forecast heavy downpours.
An aerial view of Basse, the administrative capital of the Upper River region. As beautiful as it appears, this cosmopolitan town harbors a potentially dangerous environmental hazard that is raising serious concerns for the people here and the regional authorities, particularly disaster management personnel.
Going by the figures published by the Department of Water Resources, is the department responsible for producing early warning bulletins for us and for the entire country, is that we're going to receive above normal rainfall. And we have received rain before any other region. You might be aware of that, and we've recorded a significant number of millimeters of rainfall and causing damage in certain communities.
One area that is no stranger to rain-induced disasters, and with above normal downpours forecast this year, memories of recent flash floods are still sending jitters across town.
It's gonna be very, very serious, in the sense that if you've been going around the town, you've seen the quantity and the indiscriminate dumping of waste along the canal, which was dragged by government some 2-3 years ago, and also you've seen just the few rains we have recorded. You can see what runoff water has done. So obviously the risks are very high. Units will be heavily affected. They will be flooded. Some people will be forced to displace, and others will potential to being recipient of certain bad classes of, say, what the contamination, for instance. Because don't forget that this region depends heavily on the river for some of its domestic needs of water.
Basse's well-documented exposure to flooding is also not helped by the manner in which refuse is being disposed by residents, compounded by poor planning and desperate need for housing.
Windstorm and flood are natural phenomena, but we can still be resilient. If we change our attitudes towards certain activities, we may be able to cope some of the problems. Problems like waste management. We need to know where and when to dispose waste, especially where to dispose waste. Because most of the time, people dispose waste on waterways, and this blocks the passage of water when it rains, causing a lot of floods in certain areas that should not have been flooded.
This man, a mechanic by trade, explains how they are forced to abandon their workshop every other year, as he also recounts the drowning of a child last year in this locality. Just as the people of Basse also brace themselves for nationally predicted heavy torrents, the condition of the Basse-Fatoto-Koina highway poses a major nightmare for the people of the Upper River region.
It is not going to be an easy work though, but we hope that with all hands on deck, we should be able to do something at least to make the road better until when the government decides to come in to work on it finally.
Worried by the dilapidated state of this important road, the elders of the URR from different communities, prominent youth and all the district chiefs met at the governor's Bantaba recently to discuss ways of resource mobilization.
Kandoro ni tumanaji. Ndele ala kolialo katambi abela. Kadu mudoti ni bota kandoro ni na da Basse. Adoyata nyao nyandi ibeke melulu da Basse la ila motola. Fema utin na fosilo la kuria.
He cited the predicament of pregnant women on referrals to Basse, serious delay in the movement of goods and persons are some of the issues warranting the rehabilitation of this road. GRC.
The Ministry of Transport, Works and Infrastructure has held a forum to update the national transport policy. A task force was set up to review the policy, which expired in 2006. Mary Ann Njai Ajayi reports.
The initiative is meant to upgrade the country's road, air and water transport systems. Speaking at the event, the Minister of Transport, Lamin Job, said the improvement of the transport sector is among government's key priorities, noting that 80% of roads in the country are not up to standard. He called on local entrepreneurs to invest in the transport industry to create more employment opportunities.
The government has realized that we have been investing in transport, but for some reason, these investments that we have been doing is not very much connected to our local economy. It's not also very much connected to our need to create employment. So we have to come with a set of policies or intentions that will have more local content. And I think that makes sense. So we are hoping that with this consultative workshop, you will look at this theme, because we have to change. We have to change the way we are doing things.
The Managing Director, National Roads Authority, Mamadou Senghor, said the policy seeks to address the immediate needs of transport users as well as to establish an integrated transport system.
The government of the Gambia, through the Ministry of Transport, Works and Infrastructure, endeavors to narrow such gaps and shortfalls.
The Managing Director, Gambia Ports Authority, Abdoulaye Tambadou, stressed the need to improve the container space at the GPA.
The Gambia Ports Authority being a service port, where both vessels and stevedoring are handled by the port, with a minimal private sector presence, a national transport policy review, which might have a big impact on that situation, is very welcome. We need jetty extension in order to avoid congestion in the port and hence reduce freight rates and quicker vessel turnaround times.
Abdoulaye E. Jame of the Gambia Civil Aviation Authority said efforts are underway to put in place appropriate policies to open up the country's air transport. Salum Malang of Gambia International Airlines said his institution expects the policy to regulate the operational activities of key players within the transport sector. Njai Ajayi, GRTS News.
Officials of the Gambia Revenue Authority and NAWEC are participating in a 4-day management and leadership skills organized by Crown Management Services. Aisatu Jata reports.
Is very important because it's practical management and leadership skill. Because if you don't have practical management, we can go to university, have our degrees, but most of the time it's theoretical. But we need practical things. From the experience they have from their offices and organizations, we build from there and tailor the capacity according to the need of the country.
The Executive Officer of Gambia Import and Export Promotion Agency said personnel management and leadership skills are crucial to economic development.
We have fundamental problems. How do we address these problems? We address this problem by looking at the core of the problem. The core of the problem is we have to facilitate for what we have already. Again, I'll go back to saying it's important to promote FDI. It's far more important that we preserve what we have. And that includes the institution as a whole and perfect it, make it better. Make it better in a sense that we understand the challenges that we have.
Officials believe that many managers are well trained, but there is still room for improvement.
One of the fundamental issues that we have in our institutions is capacity building. And this training addresses issues like that. When you look at the way we are, the way we're doing business, because of the economic indexes, consumer sentiment is low, consumer spending is low, a lot of businesses are not enjoying the free market system that has been designed to promote investment opportunities. In order for us to get out of the situation we are in, we must create employment. And we create employment by empowering institutions and people like yourself.
The Publicans Consultant of Ground Management Services, Major Job, hoped that the training will help improve stakeholder understanding and support.
Ground management is here to offer practical training. Sometimes we spend thousands of thousands of dollars to go to England, to Philippines or Nigeria or Ghana, and we can tell the Gambian populace that now this type of training is available in the Gambia, and instead of wage money, they can come to Crown, which is next door, and they have practical management courses and other interesting consultancies and other things that will help us build the new Gambia.
This training is part of a quarterly program organized by Ground Management Services for both public and private sectors. Reporting for GRS News, I am Aissatou Jata.
The Rotary Club of Banjul has a new executive. The transfer of power is an annual event that allows members to select a new breed of leaders. Khadijatu Jallow has more.
To His Royal Highness, the Oba of the Yorubas in the Gambia, himself a Rotarian, as the new president of the Rotary Club of Banjul. The Assistant District Governor, Minyan Job, highlighted that the theme for this year's Rotarians is making a difference in the world, protecting the environment and climate change.
Challenging every club to plant a tree for every single member of the club. By planting these trees, this will slow down global warming.
Job also called for gender parity and the involvement of more young people in Rotary. The outgoing Rotarian President, Abdullah Cham, handing over the mantle of leadership, explained some of their success stories and challenges during his tenure.
The country was actually covered with a very dark cloud. That was the political impasse which actually affected and grounded most of our activities. During this political impasse, we were able to assist over 30,000 Gambians and non-Gambians by providing them with food, transport, and water. We were also able to provide school furniture to that is the Albion and Kobakunda Primary School in Basse. The Maria Makunda water project also was completed and handed over.
Rotary Banjul's new president expressed confidence that with the commitment and support of Rotarians, he and his executive members will sail the 2017-2018 term.
The first club in the Gambia. If I'm to start, I will record and can't explain about this Banjul. We will not be there tonight. Now I'm very glad indeed to accept this big post. And I know when you have support of able-minded people, you will succeed.
The new president emphasized the spirit of teamwork among a bid to change the lives of the needy and the vulnerable as Rotarians. An ex-assistant district governor who doubles as the new vice president of the Safiyong Mane said Rotarians have one platform. Its members are treated equally regardless of status or title. He called for to support each other at all times. The ceremony saw a cutting of the cake and the recognition of Paul Harris Fellows. Khadijatu, GRTS News.
We will be back with the sports news. Stay tuned.